Imagine for a moment that everything around you, the walls, the air, the sounds, even the thoughts inside your mind, are not as solid or as permanent as they seem. You wake up every morning believing that the world you see is fixed, that what happened yesterday inevitably shapes what will happen today. You believe your circumstances define you, that your past dictates your potential. But what if that's not true? What if the structure of reality isn't something you're trapped within, but something you're constantly sculpting without realizing it, moment by moment, through the sheer power of your attention? Reality isn't fixed, your attention is. This single realization has the potential to dissolve years of struggle, fear, and confusion. Because when you see that reality is fluid, responsive, and mirroring the direction of your focus, everything begins to change. Life stops feeling like a rigid script you must follow, and starts becoming a living canvas, painted by your awareness, colored by your emotions, and brought to life by your attention. Think back to moments in your life when you were deeply focused on something, maybe a dream you wanted, a fear that haunted you, or a memory that played endlessly in your mind. Have you noticed how that very focus seemed to attract more of the same energy? When you were consumed by worry, reality seemed to hand you more reasons to worry. When you were immersed in gratitude or love, life seemed to flow effortlessly. It's not coincidence. It's resonance. The universe, or rather your perception of it, vibrates in tune with the frequency of your attention. Most people drift through life unaware that they're creating on autopilot. They think they're observing reality when in truth they're reinforcing it. Every thought, every emotion, every subtle fixation on what is, feeds the current version of reality and strengthens it. This is why people feel stuck. Not because life is unchangeable, but because their attention is glued to the familiar, the same worries, the same identity, the same story. They wake up and instantly return to the energetic pattern of yesterday. Their mind replays the same tune, and the universe responds by echoing that same melody back to them. But then something happens, a subtle awakening. Maybe it's a conversation, a quote, a sudden realization that something deeper exists beyond the surface of things. That's the moment awareness cracks open. You begin to sense that attention is not passive, it's creative. You start to see that reality doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. Like light passing through a prism, your attention refracts the infinite potential of existence into the specific colors and shapes of your lived experience. This is not about forcing positivity or denying what is. It's about understanding that what you repeatedly give your energy to becomes your experience of truth. If your attention is chained to what you fear, you'll live in a fearful world. If your attention is anchored in what you love, your world becomes softer, more aligned, more fluid. This is how consciousness works, not through effort but through awareness. Reality reflects back not what you want, but what you continually give emotional focus to. In this journey, you will begin to question the foundations of what you've been taught about life. You'll explore the nature of perception, energy, and creation itself. You'll see that attention is not a small act of noticing, it's a cosmic act of choosing. And every time you choose where to place your attention, you're collapsing infinite possibilities into a single lived moment. You're participating in the quantum dance of existence. This shift in understanding doesn't happen in an instant. It unfolds like dawn, gradually, quietly, until one day you realize the light has completely changed. Suddenly, the patterns you once thought were permanent begin to dissolve. Situations that felt unmovable start to transform. People, opportunities, and synchronicities appear out of nowhere. And it's not magic in the fantasy sense, it's the natural outcome of redirecting the most powerful creative force you possess, your focused awareness. The purpose of this exploration is not to fill your mind with new beliefs, but to help you see what's always been true. You are not a passive observer in a fixed universe. You are the consciousness through which universes are perceived, formed, and experienced. Attention is the brushstroke of creation, and every moment, you are painting reality, even when you don't realize you're holding the brush. As you listen, feel, and reflect on the ideas that follow, I invite you to loosen the grip on what you think reality is. Allow yourself to soften into the possibility that everything is more alive, more fluid, more responsive than you've ever imagined. Reality is not the cage you live in, it's the mirror of your focus. And when your attention shifts, so does the reflection. What was once rigid becomes malleable. What was once painful begins to heal. What was once impossible starts to unfold before your eyes, effortlessly, naturally, beautifully. Because in truth, reality isn't fixed. It's your attention that makes it seem so. From the moment we are born, we're taught to see the world as something external, something that exists independently of our thoughts, emotions, and choices. Parents, teachers, and society tell us that reality is solid, measurable, and unchangeable. We grow up believing that the outside world defines us. We're taught that success, love, or peace depend on external conditions. But this belief, that reality is fixed, is the greatest illusion humanity has ever collectively agreed upon. It's not your fault if you've believed it. Almost everyone does. The mind craves certainty, and the easiest certainty to hold on to is the idea that what I see is all there is. Yet when you start to question this, something extraordinary begins to happen. You realize that what we call reality isn't a static object sitting outside of us. It's a living, breathing process that responds to our perception, a mirror reflecting the dominant patterns of our attention. Think of the mind like a projector and life as the movie screen. The film being projected isn't stored on the screen, it's coming from inside the projector. Most people stare at the screen trying to change the story, unaware that the real power lies in changing the film reel inside. When your attention stays locked on the screen, on the problems, the injustices, the fears, you feed those same narratives with energy. You reinforce them. The movie keeps playing the same scenes. But when you start adjusting what's inside, your focus, your beliefs, your expectations, the entire movie begins to shift. This is how the illusion of fixed reality keeps us stuck. We see patterns repeating, the same kinds of relationships, the same struggles, the same emotional cycles, and we conclude, this is just how life is. But in truth, what's repeating is our focus. The more we observe lack, the more lack we perceive. The more we notice what's missing, the more emptiness the world reflects back. Reality, at its core, is a mirror, and attention is the light that illuminates what the mirror reveals. Science has begun to echo this truth in subtle ways. In quantum physics, the observer effect shows that the very act of observation influences how particles behave. They don't exist in a defined state until they're observed. The simple awareness of the observer collapses infinite probabilities into a single experienced reality. In other words, reality changes depending on how it's looked at. Now imagine applying that principle to your daily life. Every moment you give attention to something, you're observing it into being. You're collapsing potential into form. And the more consistent your focus, the more stable that form becomes, until it starts to feel like reality. But attention isn't just mental, it's vibrational. Each thought and emotion carries a specific frequency, and when your attention repeatedly tunes into that frequency, you lock yourself into a corresponding energetic state. If you constantly dwell on stress, you vibrate in the energy of stress, and your experiences will begin to align with it. This is why people who expect problems tend to attract them, not because of luck but because of resonance. Reality mirrors vibration. Let's take a simple example. Imagine two people walking through the same city. One is focused on beauty, the architecture, the sky, the kindness of strangers. The other is focused on noise, pollution, and impatience. They're in the same physical place, yet they inhabit entirely different realities. The first person feels inspired and alive, while the second feels drained and hopeless. The only difference between them is where their attention rests. The same world, yet two distinct experiences, created by two unique states of awareness. The illusion of fixed reality tricks us into thinking that we're victims of circumstance, but the deeper truth is that we're participants in co-creation. When you think your circumstances define you, you unconsciously give away your power to the external. You begin reacting to life instead of shaping it. Your emotions become dependent on what's happening out there, which means your energy keeps fluctuating with every event. But when you realize that your inner state is the source, not the result, everything changes. You stop being a reactor and become a creator. This doesn't mean denying what exists. It means seeing beyond it. The key difference between denial and transcendence is awareness. Denial says, that's not happening. Awareness says, that may be happening but it's not the only reality available. Awareness acknowledges the current vibration but chooses to direct attention toward higher frequencies. Peace, gratitude, vision, love. And when you consistently choose those frequencies, your external world reorganizes itself to match. Our collective conditioning reinforces the illusion of solidity. Systems, institutions, even language, all are designed to make the world seem fixed. We say things like, that's just how life is, or, people don't change. But these are not universal truths. They're spells, energetic agreements reinforced by generations of collective attention. And like any spell, they can be broken. The moment you stop feeding them with focus, their power dissolves. Reality begins to rearrange itself around your new awareness. What once seemed impossible starts to show signs of movement, as if the universe itself is responding to your shift in vibration. So why do we cling so tightly to fixed reality? Because it feels safe. Certainty gives the mind comfort even if that certainty is painful. The idea that this is just how things are feels predictable, and the human ego thrives on predictability. But the soul, the deeper consciousness within you, knows that life is not meant to be predictable. It's meant to be creative, fluid, and ever-evolving. When you align with that knowing, you start to perceive life differently. You begin to sense that the very fabric of reality is flexible, waiting for your attention to tell it what to become. The illusion begins to dissolve the moment you truly see it. You start noticing how your thoughts influence your emotions, how your emotions color your perception, and how that perception defines what you call real. It's not a theory, it's an experience. You can feel it. When you shift your focus from what's missing to what's possible, your body relaxes, your energy opens, and your surroundings start to respond. Life becomes more synchronistic, more harmonious. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people. And you realize reality was never fixed. It was always responding to your gaze. Every belief you hold, every story you repeat, every emotional pattern you maintain, they're all filters shaping what you see. The moment you change those filters, the world changes with them. This is not imagination, it's perception expanded to its natural form. The deeper truth is that reality is not out there, it's happening in here, within the field of your consciousness. The outer world bends to the stability of your inner focus. So the next time you feel stuck, remember, it's not life that's holding you in place. It's your attention looping on what feels safe and familiar. The moment you reclaim that attention and direct it consciously, you break the spell. You begin to see through the illusion of fixed reality and step into the truth, that the universe is fluid, responsive, and alive, waiting to mirror the vibration you choose to hold. Reality isn't fixed, it's simply reflecting what you keep choosing to see. Attention is not just a mental act of noticing. It is the most potent creative power you possess, a silent sculptor shaping every contour of your lived experience. Whatever you consistently give your attention to, you breathe life into. It grows, it solidifies, and it becomes your reality. Most people don't realize this because they believe attention is passive, like light merely illuminating what already exists. But attention is not passive light, it's an active force. It doesn't just reveal, it creates. Imagine standing in a dark room filled with infinite possibilities, countless realities waiting to be experienced. You hold a flashlight in your hand, and wherever you shine that light, a world takes form. The rest of the room remains unseen, though it exists in potential. Your attention is that flashlight. Wherever you direct it, the universe takes notice. Energy begins to gather, experiences begin to align, and the unseen potential becomes the visible real. Every thought, every focus, every emotional investment you make is a choice about where that beam of light will shine. This is why attention feels magnetic. What you focus on pulls more of itself toward you. When you give attention to lack, you unconsciously invite more situations that mirror lack. When you give attention to gratitude, you expand your capacity to receive. The universe doesn't judge, it simply amplifies. It reflects your inner focus like a faithful mirror, showing you, with stunning precision, the contents of your consciousness. In a sense, attention is the meeting point between the physical and the metaphysical. Neuroscience tells us that the brain strengthens neural pathways through repetition. Every time you focus on a thought, the brain reinforces that pathway, making it easier to access in the future. Over time, this becomes your dominant pattern of perception, your default reality. Spiritually, the same principle applies. Energy flows where attention goes. The more you invest awareness in a certain vibration, the stronger that vibration becomes in your field, and the more the external world begins to conform to it. Attention can be compared to a gardener tending to soil. Whatever seeds you water, love, fear, hope, doubt, will eventually grow. Most people, however, water their fears more than their desires. They spend their days feeding thoughts of what might go wrong, rehearsing painful memories, and fixating on what's missing. Without realizing it, they are giving their creative energy to what they least want. And the universe, in its neutrality, says yes. It mirrors back the energy they continually project. When you begin to understand this, something profound awakens within you, a sense of responsibility but also immense freedom. You start to see that you are not at the mercy of circumstances. Circumstances are at the mercy of your consistent focus. This doesn't mean you can control every external event, but it does mean you control the meaning those events hold and the energetic response that follows. Your reaction, your perspective, and your chosen focus all determine how long a situation's energy lingers in your field. Think about it this way: attention is the brush, awareness is the artist, and emotion is the color. You paint the canvas of your life with each moment of focused consciousness. When you unconsciously paint in fear or worry, the strokes create a chaotic landscape. When you consciously paint with clarity, love, and purpose, the entire scene transforms. This isn't metaphorical poetry, it's energetic law. Every emotion you amplify through attention becomes a frequency signal that shapes how reality organizes itself around you. Neuroscience supports this through the principle of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on focus and repetition. Every time you shift your attention, you're physically altering your brain's structure. Every time you hold gratitude, visualize peace, or embody self-belief, you're literally carving new neural pathways that make those states more accessible. Over time, they become automatic. This is why spiritual practice and mindfulness matter. They train your attention to stay centered in alignment rather than drifting toward chaos. But attention isn't just mental discipline. It's emotional coherence, the alignment between what you focus on and what you feel. Many people try to think positive while still feeling fear underneath. The universe responds to vibration, not words. So when your thoughts and emotions contradict each other, the stronger vibration wins. The key is not to suppress emotion but to realign it through awareness. When you notice yourself fixating on what you don't want, pause and breathe. Redirect your focus toward what you do want, not in desperation but in quiet certainty that your attention is creative energy. One powerful practice is what can be called attention training. Throughout the day, ask yourself, where is my attention right now? Not just mentally but emotionally. Is it on lack or on abundance? On fear or on trust? On limitation or on potential? Every moment of awareness reclaims a fragment of your creative power. The more often you do this, the more natural it becomes to hold your focus in higher states of being. You may start to notice that attention behaves like a magnetized current. The more stable it becomes, the stronger its influence on the energetic field around you. Scattered attention creates scattered outcomes. Stable attention generates coherence, a harmony between your inner and outer worlds. This is why ancient mystics, meditators, and manifestors across cultures have emphasized stillness. Stillness isn't emptiness, it's alignment. When your attention becomes still and unwavering, reality begins to rearrange itself with astonishing clarity. Consider attention as an invisible frequency tuner. The universe is broadcasting infinite channels of experience. Abundance, peace, chaos, love, suffering, creativity, stagnation. Your attention is the dial that decides which one you tune into. If you habitually tune into the frequency of frustration, you'll keep hearing life speak to you in that tone. When you shift to gratitude, life responds in harmony. It's not that one channel disappears, it's that your awareness stops resonating with it. You change stations and therefore you change your experience. The challenge, of course, lies in the mind's addiction to the familiar. The human mind craves patterns because patterns feel safe. Even if a pattern causes pain, the mind clings to it because it knows how to survive it. This is why shifting your attention often feels uncomfortable at first. You're not only changing your focus, you're changing your identity. You're detaching from the version of yourself that existed within the old pattern and stepping into an expanded sense of self that vibrates differently. The ego resists this because it thrives on familiarity, but the soul celebrates it because it recognizes truth. So how do you stabilize your attention when the world keeps pulling it outward, toward news, opinions, distractions, and fears? By practicing energetic sovereignty. Every time you pause, breathe, and center your awareness in the present moment, you reclaim your energy from the noise. You remind yourself that your focus is sacred. You remember that attention is your creative authority. Over time, this awareness transforms from a concept into a living state of being. You begin to feel how your attention shapes the flow of your day, how people respond differently, how events align effortlessly, how intuition guides you with precision. Eventually, attention becomes not something you use but something you are. You realize that pure consciousness, awareness without distraction, is the foundation of creation itself. You no longer chase manifestations, you embody alignment. You no longer beg reality to change, you become the vibration that changes it naturally. The world stops feeling like an external battlefield and starts revealing itself as a mirror, responding faithfully to the quality of your focus. When you master your attention, you master your reality. Because attention is the sculptor, and you are the artist behind it. Every moment, every breath, every thought is a brushstroke shaping the masterpiece of your existence. When you choose where to place that brush, consciously, lovingly, deliberately, reality bends in response, revealing that it was never fixed at all. It was always waiting for your awareness to give it form. When you finally begin to apply this understanding, that your attention shapes the very texture of your life. Something extraordinary happens. The world doesn't necessarily change all at once, but your relationship to it does. You start noticing how every situation, every emotion, every thought becomes an invitation to practice conscious awareness. The smallest things, like a delay, a disagreement, or a quiet morning, start to feel alive with meaning. It's as if life has been speaking to you all along, and now, for the first time, you can finally hear it. You realize that shifting reality isn't about forcing a new version of life to appear. It's about tuning your vibration to match the version that already exists. Just like a radio receiver doesn't create the signal but aligns with it, your consciousness doesn't invent new worlds, it simply tunes into them. This understanding changes everything. You stop trying to fix what is wrong, and instead you begin to align with what feels right. You stop fighting against the unwanted and start inviting the preferred. The struggle dissolves and a sense of calm mastery replaces it. The key to this transformation lies in training your attention, learning to keep it steady on what you prefer instead of what you fear. For most people, attention has been reactive their entire lives. It jumps from one worry to the next, feeding stories of resistance. But when you take ownership of where your focus goes, you reclaim your creative authority. You start realizing that emotion is not a reaction, it's guidance. Each feeling is feedback, showing you whether your attention is aligned or misaligned with your higher state. So when fear arises, you no longer see it as a threat. You recognize it as an invitation to return home, to shift your focus from what's uncertain to what's eternal. You practice breathing through discomfort instead of resisting it. You observe your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky, knowing they have no power except the power you give them. Over time, this awareness becomes second nature. You begin to feel your vibration shifting in real time, as if you're consciously sculpting your own energetic landscape. From this place of inner stability, manifestation becomes effortless. You stop asking, "When will it come?" because you understand that it's already here, existing as a potential reality that you are magnetizing through your state of being. The outer world begins to echo the energy you hold within. People respond differently. Opportunities unfold naturally. Coincidences multiply. It's not magic, it's resonance. Life rearranges itself to mirror the quality of your attention. You might notice subtle changes first. Your mornings feel lighter, your interactions flow with more ease, and even challenges seem less personal. The old version of you, the one who chased validation, overthought every outcome, or doubted their worth, begins to fade. In its place stands a grounded, aware being who understands that creation is not about doing more, but being more conscious. The more present you become, the more powerful your attention grows. Presence itself becomes your magnetism. And this is where reality starts to soften. The edges that once felt hard and immovable begin to blur. The people, places, and circumstances in your life start to shift almost invisibly at first, as if the universe is gently realigning itself around your new vibration. You begin to realize that the outer world was never the problem. It was always your perception of it that shaped your experience. Once perception changes, reality has no choice but to follow. There's a deep serenity that comes with this understanding. You stop needing to control everything. You start trusting that alignment will handle the details far better than anxiety ever could. You no longer need to chase outcomes because you've remembered how creation truly works. The moment you align internally, the external world begins to rearrange itself. You no longer ask, "How will it happen?" because the how belongs to the universe. Your only task is to sustain the vibration of already having. This is where your practice turns into mastery. You start living with intention instead of reaction. Each morning becomes a fresh canvas, and your attention is the brush. You wake up and ask yourself, "What frequency will I choose today? Gratitude? Clarity? Peace?" From that place, your day unfolds differently. Even when contrast appears, you meet it with compassion instead of resistance. You remind yourself that contrast isn't punishment, it's refinement. It's the universe helping you clarify what you truly want by showing you what you don't. Over time, you begin to understand that alignment is not a temporary state, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of existing that honors your consciousness as the primary creative force in your world. You move through life not as a victim of circumstance, but as an artist of energy. Every moment becomes an opportunity to practice the art of focus, to return your attention to love, and to embody the reality you wish to live in. And this is the moment you realize the most powerful truth of all. You were never trying to change reality, you were learning to remember who you really are. A being of awareness, a field of infinite potential, a conscious presence shaping matter through attention. The old paradigm of struggle begins to feel like a distant dream, replaced by a calm knowing that everything you seek already exists within you. As this awareness deepens, a quiet confidence begins to grow. You no longer doubt the process, you trust it. You no longer rush, you flow. You no longer chase alignment, you become alignment. Reality, once thought to be solid and fixed, now reveals itself as responsive, alive and fluid, a perfect mirror to the energy you hold. And in that realization you finally feel free. Reality has never been fixed, it only mirrored where your attention rested. Now you understand that your focus is your greatest creative tool. Every moment you have the choice to feed expansion or limitation. The more consciously you guide your attention toward peace, gratitude and possibility, the more fluid and aligned your world becomes. You no longer chase change, you embody it. You no longer wait for proof, you become it. Each breath, each thought, each emotion is a gentle act of creation. So as you move forward, remember, your attention is sacred energy, direct it with love, hold it with clarity, and reality will always rise to meet you.